There are rocky headlands like this right around the southern half of Australia, and they all provide fishing opportunities when conditions are right. Safety should always be your first consideration, so check the sea conditions. There's heaps of fish food in the aerated wash zones, and one of the best ways to concentrate the action is to burley. Soak some stale bread in seawater and toss it in at your feet so that the wave action can disperse it. I like fairly soft baits such as cunjivoy, saltwater yabbies or pounded squid pieces. However, peeled prawns are hard to beat, but make sure you protect our biosecurity by using Aussie prawns. Avoid the imported ones. I peel my prawns as they seem to tempt more fish that way. Toss the scraps in for burley. A big prawn like this will produce a couple of tempting baits. I'm feeding the peeled prawn piece onto an octopus or suicide pattern hook. Something in the number 2 to 2.0 size range is ideal, depending on what you're targeting. Push the top of the bait right up over the hook eye and knot to help secure it. My favourite rock rig's a dead simple one, the smallest sinker I can get by with, running right down the leader to the hook. This is in keeping with my lightweight, mobile and simplified approach to rock fishing, and you'll get less snags too. A big mistake many people make is to cast out too far. Think about where your burley's working its magic and simply lob your baited rig into that zone. Most days you won't have to wait too long for a bite. You won't pin them all, but eventually you'll come up tight, and when you do, use that long rod to steer your opponent away from the reef and kelp and either wash it up by taking advantage of some wave action, or if it's small enough, simply lift it and swing it out. Gotcha! So this is what I'm after. Black drummer, also known as rock blackfish. This one is not quite legal. They've got to be, oh, he might be, they've got to be 30 centimetres, but I'm going to let him go anyway. He's about the 30 centimetre mark, but it shows that I'm in the right spot, and the little bit of burley that I put in has started to work. Let's see if we can get a decent one. Alright mate, that hook's going to come out easily, and I'll pop him back in. When you're releasing fish from the rocks, make sure they don't hit any ledges or outcrops on the way back in. It's hardly surprising that this dynamic zone of wave action along these headlands holds plenty of life. On a good day, you shouldn't have too long to wait between bites. Yep, I'm on again. It's no giant, but they're all good fun on this light gear, and they tend to try and burrow under the kelp and sharp outcrops right at your feet. Do your best to keep their heads up. Got him. Oh, there's another black drummer, still fairly small. Gorgeous fish. Look at that tail, you can see where the power comes from. I think this one's definitely 30. Yep, that one can come home for dinner. Although the tide's falling now, the swell's actually picking up a little, with distinct sets of larger waves coming through periodically. It really pays to keep your eye on these and to stay on the ball. It's not just the sea that's getting bigger either. My next hookup feels like a better fish than the first two little drummer. It's arcing hard to my right and shaking its head as it thumps and runs. It's quite a handful on the light gear, and it also turns out to be something of a surprise package. Well, you never know what you're going to catch off the rocks. I swapped over to a paternoster rig with the sinker on the bottom and a little dropper, because there's a fair bit of kelp here and I was getting snagged up a little bit, and I've pulled this. It's a sea sweep. Now these are a southern species, quite common in Victoria and South Australia, southern end of Western Australia, but I've never actually caught one here on the south coast of New South Wales before. They're quite separate and distinct to our common sweep that we get in this part of the world, much more heavily built, A little bit of yellow around the mouth here and a couple of bands, and apparently they're pretty good chewing, so I might keep this one. That's cool. I haven't exactly set the world on fire, but I've caught a feed, had a ball, and I'm heading home safe and sound. You couldn't really ask for much more from a morning on the rocks.